Hello and welcome to this new video from the 5-Minute Exam English channel. In this video, I'm going to introduce more than 25 words and phrases that you can use to describe line graphs. This is an important topic for anyone who's planning to take IELTS, TOEFL, or the Pearson Test. In fact, it's a useful and important topic for anyone who wants to improve their level of English. So, let's start. In this period, sales increased slowly. In the blue period, sales increased quickly. Now let's look at some words and phrases that we can use to describe these differing periods. Let's look at the red period first. One structure we can use is verb plus adverb. I've used increased as my verb, and here I've got 4 good adverbs that we can use in combination: steadily, gradually, moderately, slowly. Here's a different structure that you can use. There was plus adjective plus noun. It's also possible to describe this period of the graph with just one verb, crept up. Now let's look at the second period of the graph. This time I have a different verb, rose, and I have a different selection of adverbs. I haven't included quick here because it doesn't connect well with words like rise and increase. You can use the word rapid with rise or increase, but rapid means very quick and in a short space of time. I'm not sure that this line really shows a rapid rise, but some people might disagree with me. Here are 2 verbs that I recommend: soared and shot up. Rocketed is a verb that you find in many IELTS books for students. I think we can use rocketed when the line is like this. The graph you can see on the screen shows an upward trend. Now let's look at a graph that shows a downward trend. The good news is that you can use the same adjectives and adverbs, like sharply and significant, that you saw on page 1. This time, however, I have different verbs and nouns: decreased, declined, decrease, decline. Did you notice that the stress on this word is on the first syllable and the stress on this word is on the second syllable? This is a very common difference in pronunciation when you have a verb and a noun. However, in English there are always exceptions to the rule, and one exception is this pair of words. The stress is on the second syllable in both cases. Here are 2 verbs that describe the first period of the graph: plunged, dived. One verb that you can find very often in IELTS preparation books is plummeted. That's a very dramatic verb. I would use plummeted when you have a line like this. And here's a lovely verb that describes the second period: dwindled. Of course, not every graph is simple like this one. Now let's look at a more complex graph. This graph shows the number of students who studied at 2 different language schools. Here I have 2 good phrases that you can use to describe this part of the graph, where the line arrives at its highest point. The opposites of reached a peak and hit a peak are here. Some people prefer to add this word, but for me, it's just an option. I also want to draw your attention to this phrase. Just under means that the number is very near to 100. Maybe 96 or 97, something like that. After the number of students at School 1 hit a peak, it then declined until 2010. Next, the number of students levelled off. When something levels off, that means it stops falling and stays at the same level. Turning to school number 2, we can say that student numbers fluctuated during this green period. When something fluctuates, that means it goes up and down, like this line. Before I move on to my next screen, I want to show you a text I wrote which shows you how you could describe this graph more fluently, not just in individual sentences. Of course, you can pause the video if you want to read it. I have 2 more graphs that I want to present. The first one shows the number of people who visited a shopping centre last year. You can see that visitor numbers increased sharply in February. After that, visitor numbers plateaued. This means that they stopped increasing and stayed at the same level. During the summer, we can see that the number of visitors dipped. Dipped means that the line went down for a short time and then returned quickly to the same level as before. Next, I want to introduce you to a structure that is a little bit more complicated than the ones we've looked at before. So this structure goes verb plus adjective plus noun. The adjective is an option, you don't have to use it, and of course you can use different adjectives depending on what your graph looks like. 2 good verbs we can use in this structure are saw and witnessed. If we go back to the first graph, we could say that the company saw a moderate increase in sales up to the end of 2008. Also, we could say that the company witnessed a sharp rise in sales after 2008. So those were 2 examples of how we could use that more complicated structure. Don't go away, because next I have a challenge for you. This is your opportunity to describe a line graph. I invite you to write some sentences about the graph and send your sentences as a comment. I'll be very happy to check your sentences. We've now come to the end of this video from the 5-Minute Exam English channel. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was useful for you.